Shalom, my friends, and welcome to our second installment in the book of Ephesians. That's Ephesians, chapter 2. And you were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the ruler of the authority of the air, of the spirit that is now working in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we all once lived in the lusts of our flesh, doing the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, as also the rest. But Yahweh, who is rich in compassion, because of his great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together with Mashiach. By favor you have been saved. There's that word again. You'll see in other versions it says, by grace you have been saved. By chana you have been saved. By him pitching his tent with you, you have been saved. Verse 6, and raised us up together, and made us sit together in the Shamayim, in Mashiach Yeshua, in order to show in the coming ages the exceeding riches of his chana, of his pitching his tent with us, of his grace, his favor, in kindness toward us in Mashiach Yeshua. For by favor, for by grace, for by chana, by the Father pitching his tent with you, you have been saved through belief, through faith, through, I forget the Aramaic Hebrew word. You can look at my video on this particular verse about by grace you've been saved through faith. But basically, by the Father pitching his tent with you, you've been saved through your being in the Word and steadily, constantly, perpetually growing in his Word. And that not of yourselves, it is the gift of Elohim. Verse 9, it is not by works. Why? So that no one should boast. It's all the doing of Elohim. This is why, the Father oftentimes chooses somebody you wouldn't expect him to choose. He chose Shaul, Paul, to deliver most of the books of the good news. He chose, this guy was out murdering believers. It's Elohim's way of showing that all good things come through him, not through us. If we do good and wonderful things, it's not us who does it. It's him working in us. Why? So that no one should boast. Verse 10, for we are his workmanship, created in Mashiach Yeshua, unto good works, which Yahweh prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. He did it beforehand. Verse 11, therefore remember that you, once Gentiles in the flesh, Gentiles meaning every other nation on earth other than Yisrael, who are called the uncircumcision, by what is called the circumcision made in the flesh by hands, that at that time you were without Mashiach, excluded from the citizenship of Yisrael, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no expectation, and without Elohim in the world. But now, in Mashiach Yeshua, you, who were once far off, have been brought near by the blood of HaMashiach. For he is our peace, he is our Shalom, who has made both one, and having broken down the partition of the barrier, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the law of the commands in dogma, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making peace. I have to pause here. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the law of the commands in dogma, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two. People say, oh, he abolished everything of the first covenant. All the commandments, all 600 and whatever the number is. No. Pay attention to these words. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, meaning the law of the commands in dogma. In dogma. The law of the commands in, dogma, which is men attempting to achieve the commandments of Yahweh through works. That's why Yeshua abolished in his flesh the enmity, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making Shalom, thus making peace. He abolished the law of the commands in dogma, this idea that it's done by works, that, you have to be good and you obey all the commands, and then you're saved. That's a doctrine of demons. We're not saved by works. We're saved by him pitching his tent with us, and by us growing in his word, perpetually growing and growing and growing. That means that we love his commands. They are his loving instructions to his children. Who is not going to love their father's instructions? People like to twist it. It's the work of the devil. Verse 16, and to completely restore to favor both of them unto Elohim in one body through the stake, having destroyed the enmity by it. Having destroyed the enmity by the stake, what he did on the stake. Verse 17, and having come, he brought as good news peace to you who were far off, and peace to those near. Shalom he brought to you who were far off, and shalom he brought to those who were near. Because through him we both have access to the Father by one Ruach, by one Spirit. So then, you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the Kodeshim. A lot of times you'll see the saints. You could say the believers. The Kodeshim is speaking of those of us who are dedicated to Elohim and no one else, no thing else. Elohim is number one on a list of one in our lives. That makes us Kodeshim, both fellow citizens with the Kodeshim and members of the household of Elohim, the Beit of Elohim, having been built upon the foundation of the emissaries and the Nevi'im, prophets. Yahshua HaMashiach himself became chief cornerstone, in whom all the building being joined together grows into a Kodesh Mishkan in Yahweh. A Kodesh Mishkan, a Mishkan that is dedicated to Yahweh and nothing, no one else, in whom you also are being built together into a dwelling of Elohim in the Ruach, in whom you are also being built together into a dwelling of Elohim, a tent. Pitch your tent with Elohim. Let's go ahead and do chapter 3. It's not all that long. Chapter 3. Because of this, I, Shaul, the prisoner of Yahshua HaMashiach, on behalf of you Gentiles, prisoner of Yahshua, There's a prison I want to be locked up in. Yeshua's prison. I want to be a prisoner in Yeshua's prison, because that's the place you want to be locked up in. There's no bars. There's nothing but freedom and joy and eternal shalom. Anyway, I, Shaul, the prisoner of Yeshua HaMashiach, on behalf of you Gentiles, Shaul, he wanted to deliver the good news to the Ivrim, the Hebrews, but it was not his job to do. It was his job to deliver to all the other nations other than Israel. Verse 2, if indeed you have heard of the administration of the chana of Elohim, the favor of Elohim, the grace of Elohim, the pitching of a tent which Elohim does, that was given to me for you, that by revelation was made known to me the secret, as I wrote before briefly. By revelation was made known to Shaul the secret. What's a secret? A secret is information that was previously hidden and now is being revealed. As I wrote before briefly, he says. Verse 4, in reading this, then, you are able to understand my insight into the secret of Mashiach, which was not made known to the sons of men in other generations, as it has now been revealed by the Ruach to his Kodesh emissaries and Nevi'im, prophets, the Gentiles, to be co-heirs. Verse 6, this is the information that is now being revealed, and that is that the Gentiles, all the other nations other than Israel, are to be co-heirs, united in the same body and partakers together in the promise in Mashiach, through the good news of which I became a servant according to the gift of the chana, the pitching of a tent of Elohim given to me, the grace, the favor, according to the working of his power, to me, the very least of all the Kodeshim. This chana, this favor, this grace, this pitching of a tent was given to bring the good news of the unsearchable riches of Mashiach among the Gentiles, all the nations other than Israel, and to make all see how this secret is administered, which for ages past has been hidden in Yahweh who created all, through Yeshua HaMashiach, so that now, through the assembly, the many-sided wisdom of Elohim might be known to the principalities and authorities in the Shamayim. Catching that? He talks about, back in verse 2, we once lived in the lusts of our flesh, doing the desires of the flesh, and by nature children of wrath. We walked according to the course of this world, according to the ruler of the authority of the air, of the spirit that is now working in the sons of disobedience. That's Hashatan, Gadriel, Satan. Now here he's saying, so that now through the assembly, the many-sided wisdom of Elohim might be known to the principalities and authorities in the Shamayim, according to the everlasting purpose which he made in Mashiach Yeshua, our Adon, our Master, in whom we have boldness and access with reliance through belief in him. I pray, therefore, that you do not lose heart at my pressures on your behalf, which is your esteem. For this reason, I bow my knees to the Father of our Adon, Yeshua HaMashiach, from whom all fatherhood in the Shamayim and earth is named, in order that he might give you, according to the riches of his esteem by power, to be strengthened in the inner man through his Ruach. that HaMashiach might dwell in your hearts through belief, through constantly growing in His Word, having become rooted and grounded in love, in order that you might be strengthened to firmly grasp with all the Kodeshim what is the width and the length and the depth and the height. Four-dimensional universe being described right there, my friends. 4, not 3. To know the love of Mashiach, which surpasses knowledge. The love of Mashiach surpasses knowledge. You can't define it. In order that you might be filled to all the completeness of Elohim. Wow. Verse 20, and to Him who is able to do, pay attention to this, this is such powerful stuff. Verse 20, and to Him who is able to do exceedingly above what we ask or think, according to the power that is working in us, His indwelling Ruach. To Him be esteem in the assembly by Mashiach Yeshua unto all generations forever and ever. Amen. Boy, what a book, huh? I know this video has been a berekah to you, my friends. It certainly has been to me. I'll see you next week. Shalom. There's a river, there's a field, both are givers, both will always